That's the way I saw it. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, Tyra freaked out." I mean,
Everybody go. Everybody go. Everybody go. Everybody go. Everybody go. Everybody go. Everybody go.
there we are. I'm like, let me see how cute I look first. Wait a minute.
You look freaking cute.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. The lighting in here is not so good, but you can see my face. I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful. Where are you in the world right now? I'm in Atlanta, and it's freaking horrible outside right now.
I'm in New York, in New York City. I live in Harlem.
Oh, what part?
I live in the west part of Harlem, just like by 140 in Broadway,
Gotcha.
in
I
Spanish
absolutely.
Harlem.
So every time I come to New York, my I have a best friend Kier that lives in New York City. Well, he used to live in New York City, but he always lived in Harlem for like 4 or 5 years, and I
Yeah,
absolutely love Harlem. One of
I
my
love
favorite
Harlem.
places.
I love Harlem. I leave the house and I hear like bachatas and salsas and people playing dominoes on the sidewalk.
Yes,
It's very New York.
very New York. Well, listen, I just first want to say I'm so thankful for you agreeing to do this live with me. For people who haven't
Absolutely.
following Naima's makes number, if we don't include Mr. J, she makes number 3. And she is my first winner that I'm speaking to.
Yay.
That makes me so excited. And I'm
Yay.
so, like, the top model fan of me is freaking excited and elated.
It's like,
Yes!
ah.
Now, listen, of course, so what I do is I usually go back and binge watch the season, and then I write down notes by episode. I just realized this came out 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, it came out a while ago. A
How does
long
it
time now.
feel with Top Model coming out so long ago, but like it's still such a current trending thing that people are still interested in?
Um, it's interesting because it's like one of those shows that keeps getting picked up by different networks. So
Mm-hmm.
like I've experienced like people reaching out to me like every couple of years, like a brand new group of people like, oh my God, I just watched the show. I'm so happy you won the show. And like
Mm-hmm.
so it happens like every couple of years. And like recently with COVID, everyone was like home,
Mm-hmm.
and self-isolation for a while. So people are just like, let me rewatch my favorite shows. And I don't know, it's nice. It's really nice. It's humbling,
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's been I think more for me than anything, it's been a blessing to be able to be in touch with so many people from around the world.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like yourself.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you. So, without further ado, I'll just jump right in it, if that's okay with you.
Yes, let's go.
Okay. So,
Let's go.
what I will say about you, Naima, like, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this numerous of times, like, your time on Top Model and you, like, winning was such, like, when you're watching it, that's something you don't think is going to happen until, like, you get to the very end. But, like, you have such, like, a sleeper mode attack on Top Model. Like, in the beginning, you were just really chilling. You were just kind of, like, just coasting, just chilling. And then, like, once you get to Africa, like, you freaking turn up and you, like, seal the deal from there. But I want to take us back to episode 1, the first episode when we see you dancing. And you talk about this girl who grew up in this dysfunctional lifestyle and now is like this self-realized dancer. Tell us about who that girl was when we first meet her.
Oh, so I grew up in Detroit. I grew up in
Mm-hmm.
Detroit. My parents are both musicians, artists. So we grew up with a very humble upbringing. We didn't have a lot of money. Like we weren't shopping all the time. So being a model or being on television was something very far from my mind. But I knew that I could be an artist. So I moved to New York City on a dream and a buck, right?
Okay.
I was I had to find a lot of inner strength and courage
Mm-hmm.
to leave what I consider, I mean, it's Detroit, but I consider it kind of like a small town,
Mm-hmm.
to move to the Big Apple and
The
follow
Big
my
Apple.
dreams. Yeah, because I knew I was like talented in my hometown, but in New York, like you're small beans. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
nothing. Like there's the most talented people in the world live here. And yeah, so I grew up in these humble beginnings and I moved to New York City just on a dream and that I could be a dancer and a performing
Mm-hmm.
artist, and some way or another I was discovered for the show and I was like, all right, fuck it, let's do
Right, right, right.
it.
So you actually were discovered for the show.
Yeah, yeah, I was.
Yes.
So New York, in New York there was this I don't say infamous. It was like this infamous restaurant called the Coffee Shop, and they only
Uh-huh.
hire beautiful people when they work there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the gimmick of the restaurant. Terrible. The service was terrible, right? The whole wait
Uh-huh.
staff was like young in their 20s, all models and actors and such. Service was terrible, but everybody was really pretty. And so the casting directors from, or some of the casting agents from the show came by and took Polaroids of a bunch of us at the
Uh-huh.
shop and asked a few of us to come in to audition. So
Oh, dope.
yeah, that's how it happened.
Oh, that's really dope. So like you got like a back door to the front door.
A little, yeah.
Oh, that's lit. Okay. And so like what was the whole auditioning week process like for you? Like especially like considering like you was just somewhere chilling, then you get an invite and now you're in front of cameras and now you're in front of Tyra. Like what is that like?
Well, I first did like I first did an audition with the casting director.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, it is what it is. I'll probably never hear from them again. And then about like 2 weeks later, I got a phone call like, hey, we want you to come to LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I was ecstatic. I had never been to Los Angeles before.
Uh-huh.
I was like, this is gonna be so exciting. They put us up in this really swank hotel. I forget which one it was. This beautiful hotel. And I mean, I was really excited to meet Tyra, but I was very shy at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of like, I think people found that I was like calm and collected and pulled together. But in reality, I think I was just really shy and
Mm-hmm.
intimidated about the whole process. And the whole week of casting that whole first episode, I was like, wow, these girls are so pretty. Everyone's so outspoken. I don't know. I mean, I just have this cool haircut and I'm a dancer. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if I could do this, like, but I'll try. But I guess they saw something really special in me. So
Uh-huh. And I mean, and I won't hesitate to point it out. You were picked by the fans as Cover Girl of the Week the entire season of Cycle 4. So there was something very magnetic about, watching you on camera, like, oh, we like her. Like, who's this girl? We like her. Like, she's cute.
yeah, that was really awesome. That was really
Yeah.
awesome. Because I was watching the show with all my friends because we went to film or whatever, and I went back to work at coffee
Mhm.
shop. So everyone was like, "Oh my God, you were in this." I couldn't tell anybody, right? So everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're on this show, whatever." And so every week we would watch the show. So I was just so as surprised to see that I was Cover Girl of the Week every week as everybody else,
Mhm.
and that was really awesome. That was really
Yes.
really cool.
Okay, so we're past audition week, and now we're actually in the house. So we know who's the final. I believe your season was 14 girls. Was it 14 or 13?
I don't remember.
I feel like it was 14. I feel like it was 14.
I remember the cast. I don't remember how many of us there were.
It was like 13 or 14. So let's get right into it. What happened at Makeovers? Because like this season's Makeovers between Brandy and Keenyah like having meltdowns and like it seemed like Jada was over it, Tyra was over it. How was Makeovers?
It's funny. I should have probably binge watched this season two. I'm like, I don't remember. Um, Makeovers, it was fun. I mean, they didn't really do anything drastic to me, but give me some highlights. And I
I
was
mean, it
just
was
like, I
beautiful.
was looking at these girls like, why are you freaking out? It's fucking hair. Like,
Mhm.
it grows back, it's fine. Like, no, what's the big deal? I don't know. Most of the time I was on the show, I was just like, what is the big deal? Why are you freaking out? We're here for like a couple of weeks, like why it's just hair, it
Right.
goes back, right? But what's really cool about the makeover episode was that we had to do the topless photos.
Uh-huh.
Right. That's when we did our the opening shot when you see all the girls topless like posing together. We did that shoot that day. It was really impressive. We were at Oribe hair salon in LA,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave us a bunch of free products, which was nice. But
Oh,
that
nice.
yeah, that photo shoot was kind of intimidating to me though,
Why?
because I had never done anything like so exposed, you know, because we had shirts off, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
I was young. I was like 19 or 20 or
1920,
something.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
would have like we would have never known because you seem so confident. And it was something about like once you in particular got your like a makeover, it was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, like, yes, yes, ma'am. So my question about makeovers was Brandy really that bad?
um, oh, cause she has to get her that afro taken off, right?
Well, yeah, because remember at first they said she wasn't getting a makeover, and then they said she was getting one, and then they had to cut all her hair off. So then she just had like this shortcut or something like that.
She was. It was dramatic.
She
It was
was.
dramatic. Yeah, it was dramatic.
So
But I,
now we're gonna go on to the next episode.
hmm
So in the next episode, there's this challenge. I believe you won. I don't think you were one of the girls who were like working it, but there was this moment between Keenyah and Michelle in the closet where Keenyah like accidentally, jokingly, or something like that where Keenyah closes the closet in on Michelle, and Michelle like has like this nervous breakdown. She's crying and all of this.
I'm so bad because you're reminding me about. I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this season in like forever.
Uh
And
huh.
you mentioned it was 15 years ago, so I don't like remember a lot.
Yeah, I
I
mean, don't
remember
feel bad. Don't
she
feel bad.
closed the closet on her. That's hilarious.
You're kidding. Cause
She
you
did
and
freak
Tina
out. I
are still
remember it.
cool right now, right?
Oh, that's my girl. Today's her birthday. We're probably gonna hang out
Today's her
later.
birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Keenyah.
Kenya.
Shout
Happy
out.
birthday.
Yeah. She's trying to get me to take a last minute flight with her somewhere tropical right now, but I'm like, I don't
Great
know.
girl.
She closed the closet on Michelle. That's so funny. I vaguely remember that, but I do remember she freaked out. I
She
remember
did.
she
She
freaked
started
out.
crying.
Yeah. That's
Yes.
hilarious.
Now, what else happened crazy this episode was Rebecca at panel.
What'd she do?
She fainted.
In episode two?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
She fainted. She fell out.
I thought that was like midway through the season.
No, that was this episode. She fainted. She fell out.
Oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
yes. That was really scary. That was really scary. Um, in my honest opinion, I think that a lot of us were under a lot of pressure
Mm-hmm.
because it was like such a new experience. None of us had ever like been in front of like so many cameras on set like that. You know, like the judges, they're used to it. You know, they're
Right.
all they're the flamboyant selves. They've been working in
Mm-hmm.
fashion forever. They're super confident. But you have
Right.
this group of like young girls who are unsure of themselves and they've never been on set before. Like there's all these cameras. You don't know really how to act. It's reality TV, so you have to be turned on all the time and be like very aware of what you're doing all the time. So there's a lot of pressure that comes along with filming a reality television show. Um, and then it's a modeling competition. So I feel like a lot of the girls were probably undernourished. I'll be honest and say that. Yeah. And I thought that honestly in my head I was like, "Oh, did the girl eat today?" You know, she just like passed out and I was concerned
Mm-hmm.
that she maybe wasn't eating. Apparently she said it was like some kind of like hereditary disease or something that she
Mm-hmm.
inherited. But that was pretty scary. That was really scary because everyone freaked out. Someone was like, call 911."
Uh-huh. Right.
um, she recovered. It's fine. I saw Rebecca not too long ago, maybe last year. I think she's doing good. She's got kids now and everything.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, shouts out to Rebecca. That's good.
Hey, girl.
How you doing? So, in the next episode, we're on episode 4 now. We're on episode 4 where you won this challenge. And this was a challenge where you guys had to stay calm with that tennis instructor who was like giving y'all a very, very, very hard time. How did Naima stay calm in that? Because, girl, you're from Detroit too. So
I know.
right.
Oh my God. When I was a teenager, I used to have this like really like violent temper. I remember like somebody like at my high school, someone threw eggs at us and I went up to the car and I started shaking the guy. Like I used to have a violent temper. But
I find that so hard to believe because you're so like
because I'm from right. Okay, so let me tell you how I got this. So my parents actually raised us Buddhist, but it wasn't something that I started practicing really until I moved to New York because New York is so intense and I really wanted to like find myself a lot. Can you hear my earrings knocking? Is that a thing? Let me take these off. Because New York is so intense, I was like, I need like a practice to help me, something that's gonna help me meditate and stay calm and peaceful, something that's gonna like make me feel encouraged on a daily basis. So I started practicing Nichiren Buddhism like on a daily basis. And they didn't show that on the show, but I was doing my meditations and my chanting and like, you know,
nice.
Every single morning and every single night I was doing my meditations by my bed, by myself. And I think it's because it's a spiritual thing, like they didn't want to air that, you know? Yeah, but like as a Buddhist, you're just kind of taught to, or the dogma, the theology is like just really assess people for who they are and you know, to remain as calm and collected as possible because you have control over your environment, you know? So if my environment is like a reflection of myself, then if I'm calm and collected and pulled together, then like everything around me is going to mimic or mirror that, you know? So that's why I was like, everyone was like, how are you staying so calm? Even in the house, they're like, you don't have any drama with anybody. I'm like, no, for what? You know, like everybody's cool. I don't need to be like
no, right. That's good. I'm actually gonna keep that.
Well, there's a fan from Hong Kong. I haven't been to Hong Kong before. Hey.
Hey, fan from Hong Kong. So, as a part of your win, you get to meet Serena Williams, and you also got a racket from her. How was it meeting Serena, and do you still have this racket?
I don't have the racket. I think I don't have the racket.
I figured.
Honestly, I think when I moved to LA, I was getting rid of a lot of stuff, and I think I sold it on eBay or something. Terrible, I know, terrible. But I met Serena. Meeting Serena was really nice. She's very sweet. She's very girly. I actually did a casting for her last season for Fashion Week for her clothing line. And I don't know if she remembered meeting me, but I was too shy at the casting to be like, girl, remember we met?
Remember me, right? I'm back there.
But she's sweet. She's sweet. Yeah.
That's cute. Cute. Okay. So in this episode, it's the horoscope episode. I struggle saying behind the scenes. I don't know.
Behind the scenes.
It's something about behind the scenes that never comes out of my mouth.
You don't say BTS?
BST about the horoscope shoe that you may have.
Not really.
No.
I remember it was challenging for me because I didn't eat breakfast. I was like, I need to look skinny. I'm in a and I didn't. I know. I was like, but you know, around all these other girls, it's just like you don't have like, you have like, especially as a young girl and you're around all these other beautiful young women, there's a part of you that is, or a part of me at least, that was very intimidated and insecure. So I was like, nah, I'm not eating breakfast. I look cute in this little outfit, you know?
Right.
And they had us up in these harnesses and I almost fainted. And that was, I don't know if they aired that during the judges panel, but Tyra brought it out to me. She was like, they said that you almost fainted. They had to bring you down and then, you know, take you back up. Like, what was the deal? And it was like at that point I realized that I really had to be very healthy moving forward in the
Mhm.
competition and really take care of myself from there on. But let me see. The makeup was pretty awesome. I know Keenyah really slayed that challenge. I think she was a Leo. She was like this, the cat or something like
Uh-huh.
that. She did really good. I really like the makeup. Matthew Anderson did the makeup. He was the
Matthew
key
Anderson.
makeup. But Sutan was second makeup on the show. Remember Sutan?
Yes,
Who
Raja.
is Raja, yes, was the second
Mhm.
makeup artist, and
Mhm.
he was always doing my makeup, so that was really fun. I think he did my makeup for that challenge
For that
with
shoot?
the horn.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, the
nice.
horns coming out.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to episode 5. Now, one thing I want to ask, because like in just talking to some of the contestants and then people who've worked in the show behind the scenes, I've gotten like all these different stories about um their interactions with Tyra. How was your interaction with Tyra? Like, what was that like for you? Because you guys do like a one-on-one sit down with her in this episode. How was that?
I remember hearing through the doors her going over notes for each girl. Like before I walked in the door, like her going over notes about like what this girl's going through and what she's talking about. So I felt it was a little impersonable, honestly. And when we sat down, she asked me, you know, like why do you want to win this competition? And I was really honest. I was like, I want to inspire people with what I do. And that was my vision, my personal vision, and it still is to this day. Like going into the show from the first day of filming, I was like, if I'm gonna do this, and I really want to do it for other people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And but when I sat down with her, she was like, you know, Naima, you want to do this because you want to be famous. And I was like, not really. You know, I'm thinking to myself, not really. But I'm like, okay, Tyra. um, in hindsight, well, now looking back in hindsight, I realized that there were a lot of girls and people like to diss her for some reason. People like to hate on Tyra for some reason, but
Mm-hmm.
she's one of the most accomplished, wonderful businesswomen and trendsetters in the fashion and beauty industries. She set so many trends with America's Next Top Model. It was the first show of its kind.
It
These
was.
competition shows where there's, you know, now there's like a design competition show, a cooking
Mm-hmm.
competition show. Like it was the
A lot.
first show of its kind, and
Mm-hmm.
she coined this idea. So like I've looked up to her as a role model for so long, ever since the show, you know, and every year I'm able to perceive her more as like more from a woman's perspective than
Mm-hmm.
like the little girl that I was when I met her, you know?
Right.
So I
That's
don't know.
dope.
Yeah, so then it was very impersonal, but now I feel like I have another relationship with her,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, like we keep in touch sometimes
Oh,
on
that's dope.
Instagram and such. Yeah, like she'll DM me back and such, and she's sweet. She's sweet. I love Tyra.
That's good. That's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Okay. So in this episode also, there was this whole big snafu surrounding Michelle's skin and whether or not she had
Oh.
this flesh-eating bacteria, whatever craziness you guys had came up with. What was that like in the house?
Don't say you guys,
Was
because
it
I
really
didn't
that
come up with
bad?
that. Don't say you guys, because I did not come up with
Okay.
that. I
Okay.
told you I'm a Buddhist. I was like, I felt so bad for her because she had been ostracized. First
Uh-huh.
of all, she was a little socially awkward, right? She was a little socially bizarre, didn't really receive social cues very well. And so she was kind of like always on the fringe of the groups, you know, kind of by herself, very quiet. And when she did say something, it was like, girl, what are you talking about? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like when we got to South Africa and I finally asked her about it. I was like, how do you feel being so,
Mm-hmm.
what did I say? Self ostracized. Something I don't even
Yes,
remember.
yeah, about something about being an outsider. It was like,
Yeah,
oh,
well, how do you feel
Naima.
about that? But I felt so bad for her. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
come on, guys. Like, this is some childish behavior to
Crap.
ostracize a poor girl about like her skin. Like, and um I have had like skin problems my whole life, like bad acne. Like my skin is breaking out right now, little pimples, but I covered up real good. But
Mm-hmm. Good girl.
like I have had skin problems my whole life, and I felt so bad for her because it's like you're in a model
Uh-huh.
competition and your
That's
face
even better.
represents your beauty,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if it's like peeling off and you have problems, like that's
Not
so
good.
sad. Yeah, poor Michelle.
Okay, so are you saying it was as bad as we saw it on TV, or it wasn't that bad?
No, it
Because
was
like
pretty
on TV,
bad.
it seemed like everyone was like freaked out, grossed out, was finna faint, was finna die.
It was pretty bad, but what was worse was that she kept picking at it,
Ugh,
making it
ugh.
worse. Yeah. Because it was like dry or something like that. It was coming off and blistering. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's probably like some bacteria or something. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like it was pretty bad though. It was.
Yep.
I didn't think it warranted the response that it got, but yeah, poor Michelle.
Poor Michelle. Now, I'm curious to know your response to this. So this episode is the controversial race swapping, the got milk with the swapping of races and the painting of skin tones. What did a multiracial Naima think way back then?
I was not
What
cool
do you
with
say
it.
now?
I wasn't cool with it.
You
I
didn't like
wasn't
it?
cool with it. I told Jay, I told Anthony Dominici, who was one of the directors on the show.
Hmm.
I mentioned it to a few people. I was like, I do not feel comfortable being painted and portrayed as an Icelandic white woman. I just don't. Like I've had to endure, experiences as a woman of color my whole life in response to racial injustices in the United States. Like my grandmother is actually one of the foremost, or was one of the foremost African American artists of the 20th century, 20 21st century.
Hmm.
um and she was like my role model, and I looked up to her, and her artwork was that of empowering black women and
Hmm.
women of color, especially Mexican and black women. And so I had a big issue with it. I had a big issue with it. I told them I didn't want to do it. um but it was at that time where things weren't being said yet in fashion. Things were
Right.
not being challenged yet in fashion. Models weren't necessarily challenging things. We had to like go with the flow, and like if you don't do the challenge, then you're gonna get kicked off the show.
Right.
If you don't go along with it, then you may as well just be like giving up your opportunity, right? So I was like, I had to decide to myself, all right, am I gonna bite the bullet and just like given white face, or am I like, because that's how I felt, or am I going to speak up and say something? What I did speak up, but at the same time it was like I still don't think it was cool. And I remember Jay's talk, he was talking about it. He was like, ooh. Like when he saw it on the episode list about
Hmm.
what they were gonna be doing for
Hmm.
each episode. He was pretty shocked about it himself. But I mean, it was controversial then, it's still controversial now. But what I think is more importantly is that models now are voicing themselves in ways they
Hmm.
haven't before,
Yes.
and becoming,
Agree.
yeah, and models are not necessarily just beautiful faces anymore.
Hmm.
They're people who are speaking out, being
Yes.
activists, body positivity, like with every matter right now.
Yeah.
Models are speaking out, which I think is a good shift in the fashion paradigm.
Now,
It's important.
I just love how like I don't even know if this is a word, but like how preface like I feel like I'm a student at like, and I'm just watching you and listening to you and just all these things and how you just make them sound so nice and philosophical. It's really nice. Like it's really
Oh,
cool. I
thank
really like
you. Thank
Yes.
you. That's sweet. That's sweet.
Yes. Okay, so let's jump to episode 6, which not a lot happened in episode 6. The only thing that really happened was this is when Matthew Anderson shot you guys in that elemental type thing.
Which one?
You guys were outside at the gas station and it was like rain, it was wind, and Matthew
Oh,
actually shot that one.
Janice Dickenson said I look like a lesbian.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. But it's actually one of my favorite shots of you from that cycle.
I liked it too. I thought it was
Hmm.
really strong. I thought it was really strong. That was fun. I remember Kaylin did really well.
And it was different from else.
Ooh,
Oh,
I, ooh, speaking of Kaylin, I have something to share with you guys. So here's a secret, surprise, surprise. Don't tell anybody.
okay.
But Kaylin and Keenyah and I are gonna be doing a photo shoot together at the end of the month here in New York City.
Oh, dope.
Yes. So look, keep a
Nice.
lookout. Keep a lookout. Hopefully we can get it published, but I think it's gonna get a really great response. So keep a lookout. Make sure to follow Caitlin and
That is
Keenyah,
so dope.
guys.
And is she still modeling? I know King is still modeling, but is she still modeling too?
Caitlin doesn't model too much anymore. She actually she works in the hospitality industry. She is part owner of a restaurant bar in Brooklyn.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So
Nice.
she works out there. So I think it was pretty difficult for her with COVID, with all the restaurants having had to close,
I
you know.
bet, yeah.
But yeah, she's doing good. She's doing good. I love
Nice.
Caitlin. Yeah, I see her sometimes.
Now we're gonna move
Anyways,
to the next episode, which is like the most iconic episode in top model history. I think we all know what this episode is. The We Were Rooting for You episode.
we were
Tyra
rooting for you.
Banks,
We were
mother,
all rooting for you.
yells at a hopeful, young, and now eliminated Tiffany Richardson. How was that for you watching that whole ordeal go down?
I have a black mother, and I just looked at Tyra. I was like, she's just giving her some black mama love. You know,
Uh,
like that's the way I saw it. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, Tyra freaked out. I mean, I was like, what? Like, so what? Like, I mean, Tiffany, like, we have the opportunity of a lifetime. Most of us didn't realize how large the opportunity was, you
Mhm.
know? Like, we really didn't get how big of a deal it was. But, we should have understood that it was, at least $100,000 check,
Right.
and a campaign, and
Mhm.
signed with the agency, like
Exposure.
exposed, like those are, not even, like, most of us didn't even understand or comprehend what exposure meant at the time,
Uh-huh.
um because this is, mind you, like, this season was before MySpace even became a thing, right? So social media
Yes,
wasn't
you're
a
right.
thing, you know
Mhm.
so this whole idea of like exposure and being on television and capitalizing off of it, we didn't really comprehend
Wasn't a
that
thing
at the
back then.
time,
Yeah.
right? So, but what we did understand, that this is a great big opportunity for us to be able to take care of, career wise at least.
Mhm.
And Tiffany just gave up on herself. She gave up on herself. And one way I empathize with her a lot though, because I've seen it. I grew up in Detroit. I've known girls like Tiffany. I've
Mhm.
seen how your insecurities can be so heavy, and life's experiences can be so heavy that you defeat yourself before you even try. Like, they've already defeated you, But at the same time, like, it was a huge opportunity. And Tyra was like, well, why are you just giving it up? Why are you giving
Mhm.
up on yourself?
Right.
And at the end of the day, I just think that it was like some black mama love. And
Really?
yeah, like, pull it together, girl. Like, get it together. She just gave up on herself. That's what it was. We had to read a teleprompter.
Uh-huh.
That's what it was. And she couldn't read it very well. She
Mhm.
just gave up.
You
And
thought
the thing was, though, also, it's like, you can't really, wait, I forgot what I was gonna say. But
that's okay.
but like, yeah, I don't know. I empathize with Tiffany a lot for that show, but then I also understood where Tyra was coming from. Yeah, with
Gotcha.
that
Okay.
episode. Yeah.
Which I think, like, out of all of the behind the scenes interviews from people who were there, I believe like you're like the first one who's like, oh, that was just motherly love. And everyone is always like, oh, Tyra was going off of her, was reading her. It was so bad, and you're like, I mean, she gave up.
She gave up. Ty was like, I selected you out of
Mm-hmm.
10,000 applicants. 10,000 people applied for this show.
Uh-huh.
10,000. You are one out of 10,000 that has the potential to actually win this,
To win, and you just giving it
And
up.
Yeah. And Tiffany, she was like, she had like the model body type too. Like she was like
Mhm.
snatched, like, you know, and she was just like, no, she didn't want it. She was like, I'll just go home, whatever. I'll just go back to Florida. You know, that was her thing.
That was her attitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we're going on to the next episode, which was the Seven Deadly Sins episode, which brings about another controversial. You know, this season has a lot of controversial moments. Now that I'm just like talking through it again, I'm like, dang it. Okay. So Kaylin had just revealed that one of her friends had died, like earlier in
hmm
the episode. And then once we come to the photo shoot, you guys realize you're going to be lowered down into a grave to embody this deadly sin. Being there with Kaylin and knowing what you knew about her that was going on at that time, how was that for you watching that take place?
Oh, wow. I felt really bad. She actually didn't tell the producers. She didn't tell the director. She didn't tell
Mm,
anybody. She mentioned to a couple of girls, but she didn't tell them what was going on with her. I mean,
that's
she slayed
good.
the photo shoot. She did it amazing, you know, given that what was going on with her. But she kind of just kept it all inside and let it kind of like come out in her shoot, which
Mhm.
turned out really wonderfully for her. But can you imagine?
Yeah,
Like
I can.
that's
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it.
it was freaky in the first place being lowered into a
Mhm.
grave, you
Right.
know. It was creepy in the first place, but
Creepy as fuck.
yeah, but to have gone through that, I felt for her. I felt I feel for all these girls. I'm like, I really did not have it bad on this show.
Yeah, you know, not even what I'm sensing is that like you were like secretly king at everybody and like all of their misery and just
I'm
like
like,
that's not me. That's
poor
not me.
girl.
So I hate to be a okay. So the next episode, you guys find out you're going to Africa. How was that? Finding that out that you're spending the rest of the competition in the motherland.
Oh, the reveal was terrible.
Oh yeah, it
We
sucks.
were we were like posing. Oh, that was the episode we got to kiss a bear. I
Mm-hmm.
remember that. That was
Not I
cute.
like you. She said the real was horrible.
It was. We were crawling in the mud, posing,
Mm-hmm.
crawling in the mud, being lions and tigers.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like I felt so humiliated. But then again, it was like one of those Zoolander moments, you know,
Uh-huh.
like be a tiger, you know, be a
Mm-hmm.
bear, you know. We're just out. It was raining in LA. I remember
Muddy.
we shot during the rainy season in LA, and and then Tyra shows up. I remember she pulled up in her Escalade, comes out fabulous, hair flowing in the wind. We're all wet, drenched in mud, you know, and she's like, "You're going to Africa," and I'm like, "Yay." But once it settled in, once we got dry and cleaned off, I was like, this is really exciting. I'm really excited. And I had been wondering why we were getting all these shots, you know,
Uh-huh.
like the longer you were going in the competition, you have to get shots, you know, go to Africa for
Oh,
like
gotcha.
malaria and such
Right,
like
right,
that.
right.
And
Mm-hmm.
you have to get them like a month in advance, weeks in advance or
Mm-hmm.
so, like several shots. And I was wondering like where are we going if we're getting these like medical shots, like, you know? But it was pretty cool once it set in, and the flight was long. I was excited though.
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited about it. I remember. And once we got there, it was incredible. I think my first impression of the social dichotomy that
Mm-hmm.
exists in specifically South Africa at the time when we left the airport, there was like shanty towns to the left, wealthy suburbia to the right. And
Wow.
I remember we were just driving down this long road and it was like shanty towns into the distance. Like it
Uh-huh.
was that much poverty, you know, and then all this wealth on the other side of town, you
Mm.
know, and we were staying in this luxe hotel,
Right.
but having grown up in where I did, and my family's from Mexico, so I've been to Mexico a while and I've seen poverty like this before, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't necessarily like shocked by it, but like the amount of it was like so impressive to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt so lucky to be
Mm-hmm.
having that experience and to be in this beautiful hotel. We got room service every day. You know what I mean? Of course, we were staying with other girls, but we, you know, we got breakfast rolls in on trays. We were living this very model life, going to photo shoots, still in competition mode. But as you know, it was like when we got to Africa, I was like, okay, Naima, like you can actually do this. Before
Mm-hmm.
then, I was like, come on, girl, come on, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
good luck. Maybe we can pull it off. But at that point, I was like, you can really do this, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And it was recognizing that social dichotomy that reminded me of where I grew up and
Mm-hmm.
my upbringings and where I come from. You know, I had traveled to Africa to
Right,
remember where
right.
I come from, um in order to like really jog my memory, like why am I doing this, why do I need to fight for this,
Yeah.
you know. So Africa was beautiful overall. I
That's
know you
really
have some more
dope.
questions.
That's really dope. 'Cause I was gonna ask you. There was like this whole thing once you guys get to Africa with like Keenyah and her like being the resident black girl, but of course you're also of African descent. And like from what we can see on the show, it seems like all of you guys are like aggravated with her like being selfish with the experience almost by like you know saying, you know, I'm the black girl, I'm in Africa, I'm liking all this and enjoying it. How was it for you, one, being black in Africa, and then two, how was it you being also of African descent reacting to this energy that Keenyah was giving off, if
um
she was giving it off at all?
no, Keenyah was definitely relishing and
Uh-huh.
being in Mother Africa and being,
Mm-hmm.
you know, being her beautiful black self and just
Mm-hmm.
like she was feeling it. You know, given at the time, and I actually, Key and I did a IG live a couple of months ago, and we actually spoke about this, you know, and she was like telling me, she's like, at the time, you know, people give me so much hate for this, but at the time I was really young. You know, I hadn't experienced much of the world yet. My perspective on life was a lot smaller. I wasn't able to recognize you as a woman of color as well as a black woman as well, Naima. And so like, you know, and then there was like the thing with Nelson Mandela's cell, which was
Mm-hmm.
what the way it was edited is not exactly what happened on the
Mm-hmm.
show. I remember that Keenyah said that she was crying because it was a very emotional experience for her,
Mm-hmm.
not because she wasn't handed the key to open the cell. You know what I mean? So people had interpreted it as her, oh, she's like being like shady and like hateful, you know, but it was really just that she was having a very emotional and visceral experience. um for me, like it was, as a woman of color, it's incredible, it's beautiful, it's like you're in a country full of brown people and we don't get to experience that here in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or in a lot of the world, Black people don't get to experience that. So when you go to countries that are like full of brown people, it's
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful experience to like not feel ostracized or, you know, not feel on the fringe of society or have to like watch your back all the time, you know, and you
Right.
actually feel accepted by the people, you know, accepted by the people who live in this country. And that's beautiful. I feel that way when I go to Mexico. I felt that way when we went to South Africa. And
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting in South Africa, they, you know, they had what is it called? Give it to me. Not
What's that?
not not racism, but what do they call it? Apartheid. That
Part time. Yes.
they had apartheid, yes, which led to kind of like a caste. I don't want to say a caste system, but kind of like a caste system where like people that look like me are understood to be
Mm-hmm.
colored. Like that's what they call people who
Yes.
look like me. They're colored because they're mixed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually frowned upon for a long time because people were mixing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me to be there, people were very accepting and very celebratory, and I loved it. I loved every minute of being there. I loved every minute. I'm getting emotional.
Yes. I share a similar experience. The first country that I visited, technically it was Germany, but I visited Germany as a layover on my way to Uganda. And when I got to Uganda, and just to be like, to see like other people of color, like that was the majority. It was such a like honor, and like this whole like spiritual 360 you feel like you're doing right now by like being back in the place where you come from and being surrounded by people that look like you. So the way you just broke it down, that makes sense on why she could have possibly in moments of euphoria could be a little bit aggravating to other people. That makes it makes sense.
Well, because someone who's not Black is not going to understand
Mm-hmm.
her response to that. They're not going to understand what that feels
Mm-hmm.
like to go to a country and be around people that look like you. Everybody looks like
Mm-hmm.
you, you know, where you're from, you know, like they're not going to understand it. So they're like, oh my God, Keenyah. She's like, I'm Black, I'm Black, I'm Black. Like, yes, as rightfully as she should have. She should have been responding
Should
that
have been.
way,
Should have
you
been.
know? So, you know, I applaud Keenyah for being celebratory of herself and her roots and her heritage at that time. And she my girl. I don't got nothing to say good things about
Yeah.
Keenyah.
Okay.
Peace.
So we're in Africa now, and it's down to the final girls, and Naima is whooping these bitches' asses. Let me just say it. You know, the people who know me, who watch me, they're like, he hasn't cursed yet. Now I'm cussing now. She starts whooping these bitches' asses. That cheetah photo of you on top of the alligator is stunning. That photo of you when you were dancing with the guys in a village, amazing. Covergirl, amazing. Runway final runway, freaking iconic. How does it feel, or how did it feel in that like moment of just adrenaline? Like you see, like you're beating these girls' ass. Like how did that feel?
It was, I'm gonna go back to it. It was like, I just kept thinking, who am I doing this for?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so it was, I was like, I don't really care what Kaven is doing at this point. I don't really care what Brittany's doing at this point. I just have to make sure that I do the best I can for
Mm-hmm.
who I'm doing it for. And I remember the judging panel was in this separate little chateau,
Okay.
and that we would go to. We would go from the hotel to the chateau, and we were on the top floor. We would have our like we were sequestered outside of the judges panel. We would have our little meals and such. We wait hours for them to deliberate, or wait hours to go into the judging panel. And there was part of it that you could kind of like go climb up onto the roof,
Mm-hmm.
and the night sky was so clear and so beautiful. And I went like one night, like it was the last night, I think. I went and I climbed up on the roof by myself, and I just sat there and like meditated for a while, and
Uh-huh.
just really like thought to myself, like, what do I need to do? What do I need to say to these judges to make sure that I have this in the pocket? Because my performance is good, but they're telling me my personality is flat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, my personality is not flat. It's just that I'm shy. Like, at the time, I wasn't the person to be crying in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't the person to be expressing anger or like bitchiness in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wasn't the girl, you know. I was this, you know, very peaceful, like, I'm going to handle my emotions by
Yes,
myself. You
yes.
know, it doesn't need to be a
Uh-huh.
whole big show. But I realized, I was like, okay, if I need to cry for Janice Dickenson to give me this, I'm just gonna go down there and cry. And so, and people don't know, a lot of people don't know that, but like the final judging panel, I crawled my little self down at that rooftop. We went down there, and they were like, why do you need this? And I just burst into tears. And it was like my theatrical self just came out, just burst into tears. And I allowed myself to really go there and feel the emotions of
Mm-hmm.
like where I come from, the whole journey, the whole
Mm-hmm.
experience, and just like allow myself to give them the emotion that they were looking for, to really like solidify that win. I was like, I got this. I got this. Like there was
Uh-huh.
like it was so laser focused for me. Like it wasn't like, oh my God, what if Kaylin wins? I don't know who's gonna win. It could be me or her.
No.
No. No, for me, it was like, I got this. She
I
doesn't have a
understand.
chance.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Naima.
Yes.
Okay. That just excited me because, um, of course, being a top model fan, I feel like, as I said earlier, you in Africa finishing out the competition is like so iconic because it was like this girl just came out of nowhere and started smacking bitches around in the room. It was like, you sit here, you get out. But to hear that that was what was going on with you, like during that time of just how laser focused you became and meditated, that's very inspirational, Naima. Thank you for sharing that with us. Like,
Yeah. I think
that's
when you
inspiring.
I think when you really, really want something or you really want it, you have
Mm-hmm.
to have like a focus and a determination that without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Like without a doubt. Like I felt that way when I came back to New York recently. Like I was living in Los Angeles for a while, not really modeling so much, but living out there doing like book tours and hosting and such like that. And I was like, I still need to work in fashion. There's
Mm-hmm.
still things that I want to do. I moved to Mexico City for a while. I was modeling there. My agent there kind of like rediscovered me, which was I feel so appreciative about. And like I'm in my 30s now. Like that is really late to be working in this
But you're
industry.
working.
I am. And I was like, but like when I came back to New York, I didn't have an agency here. I didn't have like representation. All I knew was like a few of my contacts. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is gonna be the best New York Fashion Week season I ever do. And every time I want something, I pull back that like laser focus of that I had, that I have inside of myself, and boom, like things start to happen, and I think that anybody can do that. I think
Mm-hmm.
anybody can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you kind of bled into my next question I was going to ask you,
Right.
which was like, how was your post top model career? Like, do you feel like the show hurt you, helped you, or did it do both?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Remember, as I said, like when I was on Top Model, it was before like social media,
Mm-hmm.
right? um Reality TV at the time was still very taboo. There was like The Real World, there was like, Jerry Springer. Like this is what you saw of
Mm-hmm.
real people's lives on TV. And then there was Top Model. So when I started working in the fashion industry, I I had a very, very, very difficult time being accepted as a model.
Mm.
Like I went in the door, people were like, "Oh, you were in that TV show?" No.
For real.
Like I was refused jobs or even opportunities to do an audition.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would get to the casting, and as soon as they saw that I was on the show, they wouldn't even have me. They wouldn't even take my picture. They wouldn't have me
Really?
walk. Yeah, I was just like asked to leave because I was on a reality TV show. So fashion industry snubbed its nose at me. And I feel like a lot of the girls experienced that who were on the earlier cycles of America's Next
Mm-hmm.
Top Model. Now it's like after the Kardashians blew up, like if you're on television, then that's a key into like stardom,
Uh-huh.
and it's, beneficial. And, you know, um,
Mm-hmm.
you can become a social media star. And like the more press you get, the better, and the more publicity you get, the better. But at the time, it was completely the opposite, right? So
Dang
it
it.
it forced me to become very creative as
Uh-huh.
to how I um approached my career, because four models dropped me pretty quickly because I didn't know what I was doing. I shaved my head again, and they were like, "No, girl, you can't just go around cutting your hair. We got to drop you." I gained a bunch of weight. Like it was an
And
issue with four
and I'm sorry,
models.
and Four Models was the agency that you won when you won the show, right?
Hmm.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they dropped me within the year. But then again, they didn't want to send me out to fashion week shows. They didn't want to send me out to castings themselves because I had gained a bit of weight. They were like, you have to lose a bunch of weight before we send you out to castings. We're not sending you out looking like this. Um, which was a big blow to my self-esteem. So without an agent, having felt like I was out of shape and fat or whatever, like I was like, what do I do with my career? What can I do with this win? So I decided to start doing other things. I wrote a book, I started hosting, I started doing inspirational speaking, because people were still looking up to me, you know, even if I was having all these challenges in my career that no one knew about. And then I didn't have even a platform to be able to speak about these challenges, right? People go on TV now and they go right to their Instagram or right to their Twitters and they're like, this is what's really going on, you know? At the time, I didn't even have any of that, you know, like, so I wasn't even able to vocalize to fans or people looking up to me.
What was going on with you?
As to why I wasn't booking magazine editorials, why I wasn't like booking campaigns. People are like, you're supposed to be the next top model, but people didn't know that like fashion was actually like not even allowing me in the door, you know? And what's beautiful though is like I never gave up, and all of those things actually has helped my career be well-rounded. And everyone asks me how am I still working like after 15 years of being a top model, and how am I still working at 36 years old? And it's because I did all the things. I refused to give up. I decided to tap into all of my creativity. I decided to become a personality and to play into that. Like everything that I could utilize, every tool I could use to my advantage, I used it. Because I was like, I gotta play money. I mean, I gotta pay my rent. I gotta make money. You know, like at the end of the day, the rents must be paid. So how are we gonna, and I did. I had my day jobs here and there. I worked in fashion and sales and boutiques, which only helped me even more as a model, because selling, when you go into your castings, you have to sell yourself, right? You have to sell your personality, you have to sell your beauty, you know, you have to sell all of your characteristics, your charisma. You have to really sell yourself when you go into castings. You don't just go in, they decide if you're pretty or not, because everybody's pretty, right? They want the girl that has the je ne sais quoi, right? So like even working at these like fashion boutiques where I was selling $10,000 gowns to like, you know, wealthy women, like like even that helped me be a better model. And I took every life experience that I've had and tried to use it as something that I could give back to my life, rather than perceiving it as something that took away from it. You know, like, oh, I have a day job. Oh, like, so what? You know, you got a day job. You got to pay your rent, you know? And Isis said the same thing. Like, people would look at her because she was working at Mac, and people were like looking at her like, why is she working at Mac? Why isn't she modeling? You know? Isis was like one of the first trans models on TV. And she broke barriers with that, you know? But then how is the fashion industry really looking at her? You know, were people, was trans in at the time? No, it wasn't. And
No,
people
it wasn't at all.
No, people were looking at her like, we don't want you in our campaign. We don't want you in our runway show, you know? So what do? You go get a job, you know? And you figure it out. So my journey has been, it's been long, it's been interesting, but the fans and supporters and people all around the world who like are diehard, like there for me and supporting me, like I feel like I just have to keep going for them, you know? Like I can't stop now. For what? Like I just had a spread with Cosmopolitan magazine that just came out for September issue, you know? Like I'm like, I can't stop. I booked a couple shows for Fashion Week, but I had to pull out of them because I got really sick. I got sick with strep throat last week. It was terrible. I thought it was COVID.
You don't want COVID, honey.
I was like,
no COVID.
It was negative. I didn't have COVID. But yeah, usually I'm still doing the shows every season. So here in New York, you know, doing my thing.
This probably has turned out to be like one of my favorite ones, because I don't know, it's taken this nice turn that like I'm pretty sure just as I'm sitting here feeling inspired, that everybody else watching is inspired. Like you said a freaking mouthful. Wow. Like I'm like, thank you so much. Like, it was that was good. That was good. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, right?
And I would definitely say, like, like I said, as a fan of the show, as a fan of Cycle 4, and as a fan of yours, it's really good to, first of all, to hear you talk the way you spoke today. You're still out here working, looking beautiful. You're still modeling, and to hear this like focus that you had and this like peace that you've had while you were filming the show. Because I'll be honest, a lot of my interactions with people who worked on the show, whether as talent or in production, the stories are very colorful. But this is like the first story I've gotten that's like bright and a little uplifting and inspiring. So thank you for that. I'm grateful. Like, thank you. I appreciate it so freaking much. And thank you again for agreeing to do this with me.
Yeah. Oh, and I just wanted to share with everybody that I'm also doing a new modeling course for aspiring models.
Yes.
It's called Model Know-How, and every couple of months I give a big free workshop. The first free workshop that I gave a couple of weeks ago, it was, or maybe like a month and a half ago now. It was like 2 hours long. It was completely free. We had like 800 people log on, which is amazing. We finished with maybe like 500 people who were in the actual like room with us, but I did like a posing workshop. I mean, like a posing part of it. We talked about runway, talked about 5 must do nots, you know, emerging models do, you know, mistakes, don't do this, right? What to focus on, how to pick out, you know, a great agency. But the course, Model Know-How, it's like a 10-week course, and I work one-on-one with all the students, and we cover everything, like everything that I wish someone told me when I started modeling, right? Like the reasons 4 models dropped me, right? Why did, you know, the mistakes I made where 4 models dropped me, looking for a new agency, finding a new agency that works for me, that works with my talents, you know, how to become an entrepreneur, how to like build your own photo shoots, how to become your own creative director. I do like a whole posing class, a runway class. Like, it's super fun. I love working with all the models that I'm working with. And so if anybody's interested, all the links are in my bio on my Instagram page. Yes. Who says that would be perfect for me? Well, I'm not the phone. You can find the links and everything on in my link tree on my Instagram page. So yes.
Find in her Instagram page in the link tree in the link area on the Instagram page.
Yes.
Naima Mora.
Yes, Olivier.
I wish I could give you a hug right now. Like I've been taken to church. And I can do it too.
Yes.
Listen, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I am so grateful, and please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. All right, everybody, listen. Remember to Kegel and read your Bibles and eat vegetables. I don't know.
Drink water. Drink water.
And water. Come home.